CNN, where they actually had the people on talking about what happened, and you heard one of the Trump administration spokespeople just lying, talking about this was all about the gang, how bad the gang was, 37 gang members arrested, just all lies. Lies. What's really bad about this situation, what's going on across the country, is that we're all being confronted, Daryl, with Trump lies. He lied about Portland. Did you see the videos that have been on social media of the elderly people out singing in Portland and saying, look, where's the war ravaging? What he claimed. And I'm so glad, Daryl, that the judge in the Portland case held that there was no basis for him sending those troops in, and has blocked that effort in Portland. And, Daryl, there's a similar effort going on in Chicago, right?
Yeah, no, Barbara, there absolutely is a similar effort going on in Chicago. But one of the things that the congressman listed up that I really want to be certain that people appreciate and that we drill down on is that there are innocent people. There are citizens, U.S. citizens, that have done nothing wrong, that are living in these buildings, and the building is being invaded. You know, when he lifted up the little 5-year-old boy that was put into zip ties, that's what you use to in place of a handcuff when you put someone's hands behind their backs. You have a 5-year-old that's being zip tied as all of this, the flashbangs and the night goggles and the lights and all of this stuff is going on. This is a traumatic experience for those kids. This is a traumatic experience for their parents. This is a traumatic experience for all those people that were in that building and have done nothing wrong. They're not the person that they're looking for. You know, this is what we've got to understand and certainly fully appreciate. That, I think that Justice Thurgood Marshall used to say regarding the death penalty that, the only problem with the death penalty is that you got to be 100% certain you got it right and that you got the right person, because otherwise you're traumatizing a whole nation. You're traumatizing a whole set of folks. That's precisely what we see happening now in Chicago with the trauma that went on in that building. All those people that they were looking for, that none of them fit the description of who they were after. None of them fit the gang that they were talking about that they were looking for. But that building and everyone there has now been traumatized, Barbara. And that's what we've got to appreciate and understand, because this is what they're going to be rolling out across the nation. That's what they mean when they start creating the confusion, the fear, and everything else that goes on. This is the time that we need leaders like Congressman Jackson and community organizations to stand up and stand with the people to push back for our rights, Barbara.
Yes, and that's why it's so exciting. I hope that we have been joined now by Reverend Ciera Bates Chamberlain. Reverend Chamberlain, are you with us? Yes. All right. Wonderful. Let us tell our audience about you. Reverend Ciera Bates Chamberlain was born and raised on the south side of Chicago. She is committed to the fight for social and economic justice by strengthening communities through radical theology. As the founder and executive director of Live Free Chicago, Live Free Illinois, Reverend Chamberlain works with Black churches to create safe, economically viable, and self-sustained Black communities. Prior to Live Free Chicago, Reverend Chamberlain served as the senior organizer at a faith-based organization. She received her bachelor's degree in social work from Lamar University, a master's in social work from the University of Illinois at Chicago, and a master's in theological studies from McCormick Theological Seminary. She has worked as an adjunct professor at Northeastern University, a mental health professional, and a strategy consultant. In 2013, she was ordained as a minister through the Church of Jesus Christ House of Prayer Incorporated, where she served as the church administrator for the Chicago congregation. Reverend Chamberlain is a proud wife and mother of 3 daughters, 1 son, and a blended family of 9. Welcome to Igniting Change. This is your inaugural visit, and we are so happy that you have joined us today.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, my goodness, what a time, what a time. We have just spoken with Congressman Jonathan Jackson, and we have been talking about what happened to the poor people in that South Shore apartment complex, the evil that was done to these citizens and was wrongfully done to them. And we are so glad that you are on our show to help illuminate what happened, what's going on. What do you, when we describe this situation to people, what is it that you really, really want to know that everybody listening across the country and across the world to this show today know about what happened to the residents of that apartment building?
Yeah, so actually yesterday, a group of faith leaders was at the apartment complex, and we were praying with community members and residents of that complex that was still there. So I would say there are a couple of things, points that I find important. One is that we know that was not about immigration, neither is calling in federal troops about gun violence, that this is all about an authoritarian agenda in this administration's desire to occupy states that will resist a white Christian nationalist agenda. So I would say that's the first point that we want to make. And then secondly, I heard the remarks from Congressman Jackson, and so I really agree with everything that he said. As we were there yesterday, there's actually 2 schools on that block. There's a school directly across the street, and then there's a school to the right of the complex. So it's interesting that as the residents, we talked with the residents, some gave, stories of how many of the people did not know who were storming into their house with masks on in the middle of the night. Some of them told how people were outside half naked and sitting outside until 3 a.m. In the morning, even though they were telling the agents that I got to get my kids ready for school.
My Lord.
The people are, were terrified and just did not understand, like, how, people were already, this isn't an affluent community. People are already dealing with what we would say racism and poverty. And so to put this level of trauma on an already traumatized community is heartbreaking and despicable. The other piece that I would add, that in addition to that, there have been Black people that are targeted. A lot of times people are trying to say, well, this isn't a Black issue. Well, yeah, it's a Black issue because this isn't about immigration and gun violence. Like I said previously, there was a woman who gave her account, and she said, I had never had a gun put to my head until the ICE agents put a gun to my head. So it's the story does not make sense. If you're here to stop gun violence, isn't it ironic that you are the ones who are inflicting gun violence on our communities and on Chicago residents? There was a young man on the west side who was choked out by ICE agents. So what they're doing is trying to portray that they are coming in to solution and provide solutions to a community. But again, we know that they're here to terrorize, create chaos, and do everything outside of what they said they come to do. But what they are here to do is to occupy, and we're going to resist and fight back.
Mhm. And we hear a lot about the children and the children that were involved there. Have you had any interaction with any of the kids, and what response are you seeing?
So we didn't talk to the kids. They were going on as business as usual when we saw, because we were there when they were let out of school. So they're walking past. Right, if you look at the building, like, you can clearly see that there were raids because the building is busted up. Windows are broken. Clearly, you can see something happen at that site. But the kids are walking past and going on about their day. Now, what I don't know is, pretty sure there were children. Just on, the mom saying, I got to get my kids ready for school. So we're sure the children are living in that building. So for that to happen in a building where there are the school children there, I can only imagine the level of trauma that those children had to experience by going through that whole ordeal.
And I'm trying to get an idea for how large this building is. Could you estimate the number of residents that would be in this building? Is it like 10 or 12 apartments? Or, do you have any idea how many people we're talking about that were in this building that was invaded?
Yeah, I mean, looking at it, it's definitely more than 10 or 12 apartment buildings. It's more than 10 or 12 apartments. There was one side. I talked to a mother of the building, meaning mother, elderly lady, and she said they didn't come to her side. So it was almost as if they're targeting a specific side of the building. But eyeing the building, it has to have at minimum 20 to 25 apartments.
Wow. And has there been a response from the clergy? Has the clergy responded in trying to assist in any way with what's going on there in Chicago?
So, yes, the clergy, for the South Shore specific incident, that's why we were out on the ground yesterday praying and sort of scoping out and talking to residents to see what they needed. But in the full response, the clergy has been outside on the ground, whether it's been protesting, standing up operations to provide mutual aid support, clergy, and really we've built a multi-faith coalition. There's a coalition called Faith Over Fear, where, again, it's a multi-faith space where people from all across Chicago are working together, whether it be touching South Shore or touching Broadview, where there's the detention center held. People have really been coming together to stand up against this administration to occupy and terrorize our people.
Wow. And Barbara, are you there?
Yes,
okay.
I am. Yes, I was wondering, Reverend Chamberlain, what have been done to really make sure that people know about their rights? Daryl mentioned earlier how wrongful this is constitutionally. The Fourth Amendment says that you can't even be arrested unless there is reasonable suspicion, reasonable cause. You can't just walk up to anybody and just grab them and arrest them without, a warrant, without, some, evidence that they've committed some kind of crime. It is just unacceptable to come to an apartment building and to, have purposefully planned this to the degree that you got helicopters and people with chainsaws cutting down link fences, etc., and to not, even knock on the door and present a warrant, to just crash through people's apartments, grab them and detain them for 3 hours. Daryl knows, and you should know, Reverend Chamberlain, that I went through something very similar when my house was invaded. by a probably a racist group within a police department. But in any event, I